guys, welcome to another one of my YouTube videos. I did a poll on my Twitter. My followers have decided on what to do for this video. Since UK Urban Legends run, I decided to do top 10 urban legends in different areas of the United Kingdom. And today's video is the top 10 London urban legends. Number 10 is the suicide pool in Epping Forest. Stretching from the fringes of London deep into Essex, Epping Forest has long been a place of myth and mystery. It was here that Dick Turpin's gang handled their trade, and Elizabethan poets found their inspiration. But it's also a place of dark, alarming legends, the darkest of which has to be the Epping suicide pool. Many decades ago, the story goes that a young couple who were in love were followed to the pond by this girl's father. Although the tale isn't clear on what happened next, it's mostly agreed on that the two confronted him, and the father responded by killing them. Not long after, something strange happened. The waters of the pool turned a dark black. Wildlife began to die at its edges, and the clearing soon became desert. Yeah, wasn't it? Then bodies started to appear. First, a woman was found dead beside the pond. Then a girl was found, her young child dead beside her. Rumours began to go that the pool was drawing people in, leading them to their deaths. Epping Forest suicide pool is still out there somewhere, unmarked on any map, waiting for someone to find it. Number 9 is the corpse train in Whitechapel. In the early days of the tube, death was not an uncommon occurrence in London's many hospitals. Faced with overflowing morgues and nowhere to put the steadily mounting bodies, the Royal London came up with a solution equal parts genius and grotesque. Without telling anybody, they apparently installed a new line on the underground running underneath the hospital and into Whitechapel. A line they could use to ferry human corpses away from the morgue to lie unnoticed upon the station's spare ticket office just metres away from unaware commuters. Number 8 is the Shadows of Cane Hill in Croydon. In use between 1882 and 1991, thousands upon thousands of patients passed through its doors. Some of them, such as Charlie Chaplin's mother and the brothers of David Bowie and Michael Caine, would later be immortalised by those they left behind. But the majority lived and died unnoticed, hidden from sight. All of which may explain why they never left. Over the years, disturbing reports have come in from the dilapidated hospital of figs moving in the grounds. Others swear they have seen shadows flitting by the windows or vanishing into the night. Dogs are known to fear the sight, and it is said that the dead are watching from the windows, turning their cold and jealous eyes upon the world of the living. At least that was once the case. In 2010, a fire gutted the hospital. Today, only a shell remains of the place many lost souls once called home. Number 7 is the Crying Girl at King's Cross Station. At roughly 7:30 on November the 18th, 1987, someone carelessly dropped a match on King's Cross Station escalator. The resulting fire gutted the ticket office, killing 31 and trapping hundreds of people underground. Today, the terrible memories of the fire still linger in the form of the crying girl. A young woman with long brown hair dressed in jeans and a t-shirt and the crying girl have been spotted around the station, seemingly broken-hearted with grief. Passengers have reported trying to comfort her, only to see her disappear into the crowd, or feel their arms go right through her. More creepily, people have heard her sobs when the platforms are empty and others smelled smoke curling up from underneath the escalators. Although no one has ever had a clear look at her, it is thought that she is one of the fire victims. Her spirit left behind to reign forever on the platform where she died. That said, crying children often turn up in urban legends, many of which are cautionary tales, and many go some way into explaining the King's Cross hauntings. Number 6 is the Beast at Hackney Marshes. With acres of woodland, overgrown paths, and a scattering of reed marshes shrouded by mist in the early morning, it's no wonder Hackney Marshes attracted some curious legends. Fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on how you think of it, at least one of these legends goes right past curious and into outright weird. It started in 1980. When 2 small bear carcasses were found in Lee River. They have been executed and dumped, left to rot in the stagnant water. Fast forward a year, and 4 boys decided to take a walk across the marsh one winter morning. It had been a cold night, and there was snow on the ground. About halfway across, they stumbled across a strange set of tracks. They couldn't identify what creature it came from. Thinking nothing of it, they walked on, and then they saw it. Something they later described as a giant, great, growling, hairy thing. Whatever it was, the creature allegedly reared up on its hind legs and roared at them. The boys fled in a panic. When 50 policemen descended on the area a couple of hours later, they could find no trace of anything living out on the marsh. So what was it? Ghosts? Urban legend? Local law set today tends towards being a nasty prank pulled on a group of easily frightened kids, but officially the mystery remains unsolved, with dog walkers now even keeping one nervous eye out for the mysterious beast. Number 5 is the screams of the dead in Bethnal Green Station. In 1943, Bethnal Green in East London experienced one of its worst wartime tragedies. Not from bombs or flying shrapnel, but from something that potentially could be far deadlier: panic. During a routine air raid siren test, civilians on their way to the shelter in the tube station all happened to gather on the entrance at once. In their panic to get down the stairs, some people tripped, and then that's when the stampede began. As more and more people fell to their knees and bodies kept piling up on the floor, the panic became a deadly crush. 173 people were trampled to death, including at least 41 children. The disaster was Britain's worst civilian tragedy during the entire war. Over 70 years after the accident, its memory still scars the station. Underground staff and late-night passengers have reported hearing women screaming and the sounds of children crying. Do the voices of the dead still linger beneath East London streets? The only way to be sure is to go down there late at night and find out for yourself. Number 4 is a faceless woman at Beacon Street Station in Barking. If you ever find yourself catching the tube back from Barking late one night, Do yourself a favour and steer clear of Beacon Street Station. Small and unassuming, the station is nonetheless said to hold one of London's most creepiest ghosts, the Faceless Woman. The most famous version of this story takes place in 1992. A station supervisor was closing up when he heard a rattling on the handle of his office door. Going outside to look, he found a female figure waiting on the platform. She was blonde in a pale white dress. She stared into the distance. The supervisor approached her. He almost reached her when she turned around. Where her face should have been, he simply saw a blank space. Other versions of this story have her appearing directly before someone or simply standing down the far end of the platform, waiting for a train that'll never come. It's thought that she is a ghost of someone killed in the 1958 crash, when a train skipped a signal and ploughed into the back of another, killing 10. Why she stayed behind when all the others have long since vanished is a question no one can answer. Number 3 is the figure in the studio at Southwark. Southwark? Not all ghosts have to be seen by dozens of people to qualify as creepy. In fact, some have only been seen once. The story takes place in the studios of art radio station Resonance FM. In an interview with The Londonist, a couple of the station's presenters recently claimed that they've seen a ghost in the studio one night. Not just any old ghosts either, but a chillingly malicious one. According to one of the presenters, it looked like a shadow with angry, burning eyes. The others said it was the teeth he noticed, sharp, dark, malformed things that the creature bared at him before disappearing. Whatever it was, it hasn't been seen since. So was it just a hoax told for fun? Maybe. But there's also a chance that something weird was witnessed. If that's the case, we don't even want to think about what that snarling, dark and angry figure might have been, or who it was looking for. Number 2 is a tulip staircase ghost at Greenwich. In 1966, the Reverend R.W. Hardy was visiting the Queen's House in Greenwich during a holiday from Canada. At the foot of the tulip staircase, if you wonder why it was called the tulip staircase, it's because on the way up on the banister, it's all held up with little tulips. He paused to take a photo. At the time, he thought nothing more about it. Until he got his photo back. It transpired that the Reverend had accidentally taken one of the most infamous pictures in the supernatural history, featuring a mournful hooded figure clinging onto the railings on the staircase. It appears to be impossible, the sort of ghostly figure that you couldn't fake. When news of the photograph got out, the British Ghost Club decided to investigate. With the recording equipment in tow, they headed to the Queen's house to perform a séance. Their records of the evening make for some uniquely disturbing reading. Starting at 10:54, the team began to make observations. These start off in fairly boring fashion at first, noting bell rings and stones, etc. But as they go on, things start to get spooky. At 11:15, they record a slightly damp smell, followed by distant ringing of a bell. Then, suddenly, something happens. The handwriting becomes illegible, as if distorted by intense fear. Then it descends into mad scribbles before stopping altogether. Number 1 is the Highgate Vampire in Highgate. In 1969, a local man called David Farrant reported seeing a ghostly grey figure walk through the cemetery. He wasn't alone. Dozens of others contacted the local papers with descriptions weirdly similar to Farrant's. Then another man called Sean Manchester got involved, and that's when things got really strange. Manchester claimed that the graveyard was the resting place of a vampire that had been killed. Although he seemed delusional, many believed him, and that's when the rumours started to spread. Not long after, Farrant was arrested in the graveyard carrying a crucifix and a heavy wooden stake. Now, in a state of panic, locals began to march on the cemetery looking for the vampire. At the same time, Manchester claimed a sleepwalking girl had led him into the graves one night to kill the monster. He and Farrant became convinced a group of Satanists were using the cemetery to summon demons, of which the vampire was merely one. Remember to like and subscribe. Please leave a comment. I hope you enjoyed this video. Peace.